I love it. I'm telling you, the poetry of Mike Tomlin should be a segment of Brother from Another. How about the one where Tomlin was like, you heard him talking about slot corners? You hear his comment about slot corners? He said they're angry little people. They're angry little people who refuse to be blocked. He was saying it in a complimentary way.
There has to be something more here that we will find out about later, but I have not had a chance in getting ready for the show to make calls on that yet.
You know what, Jim and Mike, I know exactly.
I love it.
How about that, Mike? He said, I'm not in the habit of speaking on things that if I haven't talked to people. Be like, hey, this is what we do.
Hey,
we do all of it.
Wait, right. There are journalists and there are talking heads.
No. The journalists say what Jim Trotter just said. Talking heads be like, hey, everybody needs to be fired. Come on. I'm going to Amy Strunk. I'm going to everybody, the whole organization. I'm tearing it down.
You have been letting these tweets fly about this Deion Sanders situation.
That was a major slap in the face, and it was one of those things where, again, these people gave you the opportunity to do the things that you're doing and to get to the next level, and all you did was stand on a stage and quickly tell people to wrap things up. All you did was try to rush the process.
Vinny's so damn rude. He think we all family. We all know each other. Everybody.
I mean, we're all family, but we don't know it. We don't all know each other.
We don't all go to the same picnic. Vinny, damn. Nice to meet you, Natalie.
Nice to meet you too.
Way to class up the show. I appreciate y'all classing up the show. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you. Appreciate it.
This is an honor for us, man, to play against you. Seriously.
Man, yeah, it was surreal just standing there like, man, that's Tom Brady, you know, talking to guys and dapping guys up and stuff. So to him, to have respect for what I did today was pretty cool. I'm not going to lie. So, you know, being a little kid, watching that guy kill it throughout all these years, win Super Bowls, and then to be able to just even, you know, give him a high five or whatever at the end, I thought it was pretty cool.
He did an awesome job. I think all you guys saw that, but it was he made a ton of plays, made the plays that were there, made a lot of plays that weren't there. Did a great job in the pocket. Had one mistake there that was fortunate, got that one back. Then didn't hesitate. I think he threw a touchdown the next play, which was real cool. But it was real impressive how he played, and I thought it was real similar to the week before.
Yeah, more than impressive for me, Charles and Michael. So let me ask y'all this. Pardon me if I'm being a prisoner of the moment, but that's just me. And I'm in no way comparing.
Here we go.
Wow, what a
start. Don't worry. I'm not going to say he's going to win 7 Super Bowls. I'm not saying that he's the next Tom Brady. What I am saying is that, Michael, as you know, well, as we all know, but you especially, Michael, the Patriots didn't know that they were getting their franchise quarterback when they took Tom Brady with the 199th overall pick in the 6th round of the 2000 draft. They didn't know they were getting their franchise quarterback. It's only 2 games, 1 start, 1 much anticipated pressurized start because of who was on the other side. But is it possible, and I'm only asking y'all the question because I think it is, Charles, I think the 49ers, in a roundabout way, have found their quarterback. They didn't have to trade up for him, but they found their long-term quarterback, and it's number 13.
You know what? It was just a couple months ago. Bailey Zappi gonna take Mac Jones' job. It was just, we love these guys who come in and they run around, they do stuff, they throw the ball around. And if everybody had listened to Kyle Shanahan yesterday, one of the things that he said was, He talked about him running around, doing some things. That's what he did in college. Absolutely. Go back and look at Iowa State. What he did last night on the field was just like what he did at Iowa State, but the difference was he would run into some pretty big mistakes. If you want to look up, I mean, you can find some Brock Purdy embarrassing film with Iowa State. We just haven't hit it yet, okay? He's had 2 good games. I will give him that. He played really well. He did some things where you were like, oh, okay. Like when he ran it in and he had an off schedule that he squeezed between a couple defenders. You're like, all right. And he was amped. I mean, when you got Trent Williams, who is hyping you up, you know, when you're sitting there and you're doing the, you know, chop across your chest and asking people what's up, and you got Trent Williams who's like, yeah, that's great. It's a good start. So I'll give him that. But I also heard people last night like, oh, he's going to bump Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance. Oh, he's going to be the next Tom Brady. I'm like, man, did we just...
Okay, wait, the next Tom Brady thing is too far. But, I mean, look, Jimmy Garoppolo's a free agent. Trey Lance remains unproven. And with all due respect, Michael, all Trey Lance has going for him is that the Niners decided they thought of enough of him to draft him, trade up to draft him 3rd overall. That's the best thing he's got on his resume, is somebody decided subjectively that he was worth the 3rd overall pick. His play in practice, preseason, and in games does not say that he is their long-term answer.
Somebody decided. It wasn't the previous regime, okay?
It was
who
this
decided
one.
it.
But
it wasn't Steve.
Okay.
It wasn't Steve Mariucci. Okay.
Here's another comp.
Okay,
Here's another comp. Here's another comp. And there's more. And this is a little more complicated because injury and mismanagement against Seattle has a lot to do with it. But back in what year was RG3 and Luck? 08?
2012.
What year was that?
2012.
2012. The then Redskins, now Commanders, with Kyle Shanahan as OC and his dad as head coach, drafted RG3 with the 2nd overall pick. Turned out that their long-term quarterback was the guy they took in the 4th round of that same year. Maybe the Niners missed on Lance. And I've seen enough, Michael, of Brock Purdy to say that he has enough. I'm not saying he's not going to have bad days. I'm not going to say he might not look like a rookie Thursday in Seattle when I go to Seattle to see him. But I've seen enough from him where Garoppolo's a free agent, Lance is unproven. They got something in this guy. Is he the next Montana, Young, or even Jeff Garcia? I don't know. But I think that he's the guy. And just because he was drafted with the last pick of the draft doesn't mean he can't be.
All right, Charles, since you've been at the cookout for a long time, we can share some family business. Okay, let's share some family business here.
Let's
Charles,
share some family business. Go.
Okay.
Let's go.
Now, Charles,
what you got?
Charles, you said a couple months ago people were talking about Bailey Zappi. Forget about a couple months ago. It was 2 weeks ago. The same Michael Smith.
Why you keep bringing up Bailey Zappi?
No, I ain't talking about Bailey Zappi. I'm saying Charles brought up Bailey Zappi a couple months ago. I'm saying we don't have to go back a couple months. We can go back a couple weeks ago, Mike.
Okay.
Somebody who has your face and your background and sitting in your chair said, hey, listen, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter who the quarterback is. That defense is so tight, doesn't even matter who the quarterback is. You're trying to tell me
that was sarcasm. That was sarcasm because people like you say that it doesn't that was directed to people who say that the Niners won in spite of Garoppolo instead of because of Garoppolo. I'm not saying it doesn't matter who the quarterback is.
Are they winning because of Purdy? Are they winning because of Purdy? Is he such a franchise guy?
In the last 2 weeks,
do what they did?
In the last 2 weeks, he's made winning plays. What I'm saying is, okay, the Niners could think, well, we drafted Trey Lance with the 3rd overall pick. We traded up for him. We got to see it through because we drafted him there. And we think he has potential. Or we want to go find somebody else. Everybody's looking for a star quarterback through the front door. Doesn't always happen that way. Michael, you can't tell me that you aren't seeing, I'm not saying he's the next Tom Brady, but that you aren't seeing shades of what Brady brought to the 0-1 Patriots. This is a much better roster. But shades in terms of moxie, in terms of poise, in terms of presence, in terms of chemistry, in terms of confidence, all the things that Brady brought to the table when he came out of nowhere and took over for Bledsoe when he got hurt. This is very reminiscent of that situation. Again, not the same player. Nobody's going to be Tom Brady again. But the dude's got a lot of the same stuff. That's all I'm saying.
I don't see it. I don't see it. You know what? I got to tell you, just based on what we showed there. Based on what we showed there, and look, the great throws and making all the throws, every quarterback can't do that. It's a rare animal who can do it. Mahomes, Josh Allen, Herbert, those guys can make all the throws from any position. Lamar. I don't like the way he slings it, quite honestly. I don't know about you, Charles and Mike. I saw some bad defense yesterday from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Even on, I think the second touchdown. Like, come on, man. Like, you should be competing for that ball. I mean, I didn't think his throws. I didn't go, oh man, that's amazing what Purdy just did. I more was like, oh wow, how the mighty have slipped. Tampa Bay is a bad football team. They're bad. And that's what stood out to me more than what that stood out to me more than Purdy, quite honestly.
And that's fair. And Charles, I'm not, as Parcells would say, as Bill Parcells, I'm not putting him in Canton. I'm not trying to put him in Canton. Okay, I'm simply saying that. Okay, look, it was Trey Lance, and we're going to trade Jimmy Garoppolo. One of us on this here screen always advocated for keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. Turns out it was a good thing they did. They kept Garoppolo. Garoppolo plays well. No sooner than people are talking about Garoppolo.
I appreciate that credit you're giving me. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, whatever. You know that wasn't for you.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
No sooner, Charles, I ain't talking to him. No sooner than people started talking about Garoppolo maybe returning next year, then Garoppolo got hurt once again.
Yeah,
and now of course, that Brady's coming back again next year. It's Tennessee, Las Vegas. Does San Francisco bring him home the way they wouldn't a couple of years ago? It's like you keep searching and searching. The guy fell in their laps. There's enough here to develop this guy and have him play in this awesome situation with the Super Bowl caliber roster. That's all I'm saying.
Okay. So here's my counterpoint here. First off, they don't need to make this decision. They can have Trey Lance and Brock Purdy next year, and they can look at both of them, and they can. And I will remind people, there was a time this season, not long ago, when we all looked at Justin Fields and we were like, like, what is going on? Like, why does he, man, he's in these big moments. I still hear people are like, how come every time he gets an opportunity to lead a fourth quarter winning drive at the end, he can't do it? I still hear that. But over the expanse of the season, our minds were changed as we saw Justin Fields start to develop, get some momentum, some chemistry. And you know what?
Am I writing off Trey Lance too soon? Is that what you're saying?
I'm just saying that from what we've seen from Fields, we need to give Trey Lance the opportunity to get that kind of run, work out some kinks, and get some confidence. As you have seen, things in the NFL, they change dramatically when a team has confidence. Look at the Detroit Lions. They're playing great football, but they are probably one of the most confident teams in football. And I'll give you another one. Look at Christian Watson in Green Bay, dropping balls, looking horrible, getting concussed,
he was a second-round pick, so I don't know if he got.
Go ahead, I knew it. I knew it was coming.
Green Bay took him in the second round.
You're so funny.
Listen.
You're so funny. You taking that act on the road? You gonna take that on the road? Okay.
Once he got some confidence, okay. All of a sudden, that natural ability that they drafted, that speed, where they were like, look, when he's wide open, this guy can run by you. Once he had that confidence, it completely changed how he looked on a football field. So I'm just saying, it's fine to be happy with Brock Purdy. Okay, it is. That's totally fine. But let's not just say he's going to take another guy's job yet when I think the tools, the size, and by the way, here's one thing I'll say about Brady. Everyone's saying, oh, Brady this, Brady that. Look at the size difference between these two players, okay? Look at the arm difference between these two players. And, oh, by the way, look at the head difference. Because, look, Purdy, again, and as Shanahan touched on this in this press conference, part of what he does, it's almost like this Manziel, nature when Manziel was at Texas A&M. He runs around, makes things chaotic, and then makes plays. That'll go for a little bit in the NFL, but eventually you got to show your.
But I'm gonna use your counterpoint the same way. Just as it's too soon to put him in Canton, it's too soon to say what he can't be either. Maybe
fair
he grows
enough. That's fair enough.
He may not grow, but this moment isn't too big for him. He may be little, but this moment isn't too big for him. Is what
I'm just trying to keep the guardrails a little closer than
I got
Tom
you.
Brady.
But
Versus...
Michael will tell you, and we got to move on. But Michael will tell you that Brady, as one Boston columnist often like to write, would throw sideways during the 2001 season. Right. Brady wasn't chucking it down. Brady didn't have the strongest arm coming out, or even early in his career. He developed into this player. He developed into this player. It was very self-made. So you mentioned the Lions. One of my favorite stats that I saw yesterday, fellas. Did y'all know that in each of the last 4 years, I hope I get this right, each of the last 4 years, a 6-7 team has made the playoffs. Here sit the Detroit Lions at 6-7, and here was the scene in the Lions locker room after they beat the 10-2. They were fraudulent all along. They've given up more points than they scored. Minnesota Vikings.
That's feeling good, though. Gentlemen, that is outstanding. You talk about you guys being ready to go. You guys have been ready to go for 6 weeks, man. That's the way to come out and set the tone for the day. Yes, sir. That's exactly what you guys did. You didn't bat an eye. And guess what? It wasn't quite the cleanest game either. But that's okay, man. We did what we had to do, and we took control of that game. I want you guys to enjoy this because we earned that. We're earning all of them right now. You're playing good football. Man, stay hungry just like you are, man. We're on fire right now. We got to keep it. All right? Let it go.
Go ahead, Jared. Hey, it feels different, right? It feels different. The work and the results speak to that. Keep doing it. Reload this week one more at a time. One more at a time. Stick together. Family on three. 1, 2, 3.
I'm drained. But I'm excited, believe me. I mean, the guys know how I felt all week about this game. But yeah, look, I don't think there's a surprise here. We I've said it before. It's hard when you get down in the dumps and you were where we were at. It's easy to lose faith, but these guys never did, and we stayed true to what we're about. And they knew, they believed we were one play away, and that's where we've been. And so now we're making the play. We're making the one extra play. It's not costing us, and we're able to overcome some of these mistakes we were making earlier. So, no, our guys, they know they belong. They know they belong, and they know when they play football like we've been playing the last 6 weeks, we can play with anybody. That's the truth.
All right, from 1-6 to winners of 5 of 6. Charles, a lot of people ask me, like, who's my favorite team? And they know I'm from New Orleans. They're like, oh, you're a Saints fan, right? Like, no, I was as a kid, but I'm old enough to have come up in a time when it was not popular to be a fan as a journalist. We had to be neutral, objective, and impartial to maintain some level of journalistic integrity. So do you still consider yourself a Lions fan, number one? And whether or not you do, I'm curious deep down. You know that city. You know that community. Mm-hmm. Not only do I think the Lions, I think, are the best story in the NFL right now, but I wonder what this means to the city of Detroit to have both short and long-term hope for the first time in forever.
Yeah, it means a lot. I as far as being a Lions fan, I grew up during the Barry Sanders era, Herman Moore, the Great Lakes offense, Brett Perriman, and I had a lot of love for the organization. Wayne Fontes, yeah. Then I covered the team, and I can safely say I covered the Marty Mornhinweg overlaps, the whole Marty Mornhinweg era. Like one of my first stories was covering Gary Moeller getting fired by Matt Millen. And then I covered the overlap with Steve Mariucci. I can just tell you that having gone through that experience, it really, any fandom you have in you is stomped out. Like there's just nothing that gets completely stomped out because you got to be a journalist and you see what it looks like behind closed doors. And you're like, I understand now why this organization is so messed up. Now, that said, I am an immense fan of Lions fans because I know it's like being Cavaliers fans or Browns fans, the people who show up. Yeah, they live through it and they just want to see some success. And what was interesting to me, it took me a long time to really buy into Dan Campbell at all. And I asked someone who was at home, who's living in Michigan, I was like, I don't get it. Like, to me, he's a lot of bluster, but there's not the results. why does Detroit love him so much after this first season where he was horrible, bad enough to have the number 2 pick in the draft? And this person said to me, it's because he wants to be here in Detroit. He wants to embrace Detroit. And I think people there are so beat down by it. Does. Yeah. They want someone who wants to be in the city, who wants to bleed the way they bleed, and they bought into that first. And the one comp I will say about this, and I've come around on Dan Campbell, I was a very big critic of his. I watched him in Hard Knocks, and I started to think, man, maybe there is something here. Sean Payton said, oh, this is great. You talk to Peyton, you ask him about Campbell, who was on Sean's staff in New Orleans. He says the comp is a guy I like a lot. He says he's Mike Vrabel. He's an offensive Mike Vrabel. That's who this guy can be. And if that's true, if what we're seeing now is sort of like Vrabel instilling himself and what he brings to the table into his team, that's true in Detroit, they got a good one.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, man, I love that.
Mike, I'm going to speak our love language, Mike, real quick. I know you love Vrabel, too. Yeah. I'm going to speak our love language. The Lions are sitting so pretty for this year and beyond, I wouldn't even franchise them. I'd feel guilty franchising them. It's set up. It's too good. They're set there. They got the Rams pick coming their way. It's just too good. It's too good. They got too many young pieces. I wouldn't even want to franchise. Too easy at this point. Brad Holmes.
I'd franchise him, though. I'd franchise him.
I'd tip my hat. You'll be in the NFC Championship game next year.
I still would. And Charles, I love what you said about Detroit. Like, it's not just the result on the field. Accurate. It's the people who have been there year in and year out. And we all know the stats. I mean, they haven't won a championship since 1957. I mean, it's almost like Detroit fans, for that circle, it's like being in a circle of hell, a Dan Snyder circle of hell, but not for the 30 years or whatever he's owned the Commanders, the 23, 24 years he's owned the Commanders. Just imagine being there, like, all of your life and part of your father and your mother's life, and maybe even your grandparents. Like, it's the same thing over and over, and you feel like you're never going to get out of this hell that this franchise has been in for such a long time. The last time they won one playoff game since the 90s, right? One playoff game.
92 was the.
Well, and then Charles.
So it's easy to make, Mike. I was just gonna say, Mike, it's easy to make fun. It's easy to make fun of that franchise. Mm-hmm. But there are people who have been watching that franchise. Some of them walked away, but a lot of them just stayed, and they have hope. So it's not just liking fans of the Lions and Lions liking Campbell because he wanted them. I think that's the story, quite frankly. This is beyond sports. We'll talk about it another day. I think that's the story of a lot of cities in the Midwest where we are bi-coastal, East Coast, West Coast. But there are a lot of cities in the Midwest, in the Mid-South, that feel like nobody's really paying attention to them. Nobody's checking for them. Right. And if somebody does, then they have so much passion. They got so much passion. They got so much love. They will give you the benefit of the doubt in spades.
No, what I was going to say was and this is even more special. This comes a year after Matthew Stafford went to the Rams and won a Super Bowl.
Yep.
And it comes after.
And Mike Verlander left and wins a World Series in Houston. That hurt them too.
Go.
Yeah.
Thank you for pointing that out. And then you have the Caldwell years where their last good years. They get rid of Caldwell to bring in Matt Patricia. And that stretch was a disaster. So now to end up here is especially sweet. But let's not look too macro, though, because in the micro, like I said, 1-6 to winners of 5 of 6, 6-7, making a playoff push, looking as dangerous as anybody. Like, this feels like you hate to resort to the team that nobody wants to play. And we're talking about Jared Goff, who many people think the Rams got to the Super Bowl in spite of. But I remember going to training camp and Goff talking about it and Brad Holmes talking about it. He was so unsettled by that trade last year. Yep. So just personally, he got comfortable and got more comfortable in the offense and taking ownership of the offense this year. Like, Jared Goff is a problem. Amon-Ra St. Brown, DJ Shark, that's defensively they still leaky. They can make plays, but they're not dominant on defense. Offensively, They could knock somebody out if they make the playoffs.
They're nice. They're nice.
You want a good comp here? This is kind of crazy.
Yeah.
It's crossing worlds, but I was in Detroit when Grant Hill wanted out. Okay, I was there. Crushed the fan base there. Like Grant Hill was, and this was before they knew what the ankle injury was going to do to his career. They thought this is going to be the next a guy like who fits somewhere in Jordan, Bird, Magic. I mean, that's how
he was the next Jordan.
Was.
Yeah.
Well, they dealt him, right? They dealt him. They ended up having to deal him away to the Orlando Magic. And guess who they got in return in that trade? Ben Wallace. Okay? It ended up weirdly being the best thing for the Pistons franchise because they got the anchor, absolute centerpiece back.
Yeah.
Now they trade Matt Stafford.
I'm gonna shout.
They trade Matt Stafford. They get a pick that's going to be a high pick. And by the way, the quarterback
Goff was a throw-in.
Goff was supposed to be the impediment in that trade.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, you're kind of like, he might be viable in Detroit. They might be able to take that top 5 pick and take Jalen Carter and put him next to Aiden Hutchinson.
Take Will Anderson and put him on the other side.
You never know. Sometimes that trade that hurts so bad ends up in the long run being the best thing that happened, and that's what happened with the Pistons.
100%.
It's such a great
word right there.
That's a great. That's a great comp. And you know what's so cool about it, Charles, is that they didn't want to trade Grant Hill. They get back Ben Wallace, and they probably shrug at that point. Undrafted guy, undersized. Okay, what's this?
Good rebounder.
Grant Hill. But think about, not only did he become one of the anchors of their championship team in 2004. Grant, just like Jared Goff is exhibiting and Dan Campbell is exhibiting, Ben Wallace and Rasheed and Chauncey and Rip. What they rode? They rode for the D. They love Detroit.
Yep.
And
Detroit versus everybody.
That can be overrated if you're not any good. But if you're competitive, and a contender, and you have that spirit, oh man, you can go to that city forever and they'll always love you.
Well, another thing too, this is just like, I got to look at over the cap. Maybe you know off the top of your head, Charles, what their cap situation is going into next year. But it's like one of the reasons why they embraced having Hard Knocks is like wanting people around the league to realize, hey, this is a destination for you in free agency. This is a place where you might want to play because of this community, because this organization is heading in the right direction, because of this coaching staff, which is full of former players. Really something special there. Before I go real quick, before we go to break, the Vikings. You know,
you said it right the first time. You said it right the first time.
But what do we before y'all go to break and I go? What do we make of the Vikings? What they're giving up 400 yards every game. They got the worst defense in the league. Giving up more points than they've scored. Charles, what's your read on the Vikings at this point? The 10-win Vikings.
They are a team that is not as good defensively as they look. They had a couple of defensive plays that made differences in games, right? But that didn't make them a good defense. Like Pat Peterson picked off a couple of passes, and all of a sudden people were like, "Oh, well, maybe their defense is better than we think." No, they're not. They're not a good defensive team. And then I think offensively, it's in a way it is very much like when you look at Justin Jefferson and Kirk Cousins. You're going to get, they're going to go to the playoffs, right? And basically what teams are going to say is we take away Justin Jefferson, force Kirk to win with these other guys. And maybe TJ Hawkinson comes through. Maybe Dalvin Cook has a monster game. But, I still think it's a very much one-man team for Kirk Cousins with Justin Jefferson. And remember, to beat the Bills, Jefferson had to do something out of his mind, make that catch to win that game.
That's true.
It's a team that's far more limited, I think, than a lot of people realize. And I still think once the playoffs come, you run into coaches who are like, we know who to take away to make this guy beat us, and we don't think Kirk can beat us.
I disagree. It's something.
Okay.
I think we're being prisoners of the moment in this when we're talking about the Minnesota Vikings. Because look at it, we just said all these wonderful things about Detroit, and rightfully so. They're playing good football right now, and we like them, and we like the story, and they haven't made the playoffs since 2016. But Minnesota, if you look at them, what are they now? 10-3. 10-3, 3 losses to Philadelphia, to Dallas, a beat down to Dallas. But, okay, Philadelphia, Dallas, and a very hot Detroit team. So they have gone out. They've won some games. They've done very well. I don't think they're a great team, but I think they are.
They're good at winning close games.
And I think they are a tough out. They're going to be a tough out in the playoffs.
I will.
They usually show up. They didn't show up against Dallas.
Way to turn the frown upside down, Michael.
Yeah, and I'll say this. I'll say this. To be fair, they beat the Jets. Okay, that's a playoff caliber defense, right? They beat New England. That's a team in the playoff mix. They beat Buffalo. We know what Buffalo is. They beat Washington. Washington's going to probably make the playoffs. They're going to take the Giants spot, I think, when it's all said and done. People are going to look at Miami. That was without Tua. So, I mean, but it's okay. I mean, look, it's not all empty. I don't look at the schedule and go, well, geez, who have they really beaten? No, they've beaten some decent units. So,
yeah,
we'll see.
Real quick, the Lions have almost $28 million in cap space next season. And just got a text from Detroit's own Vincent Goodwill, who says, the Lions stink, period. So, you know what? Some people just don't know how to be happy. Some people just don't know how to be happy. But you know what it is?
He just heard.
He a Packers fan now. Whatever he left when Barry Sanders, when he faxed his retirement, Vincent left too. Appreciate you watching, Vinny, our other brother from another.
Just heard.
All right, I'm going to catch a flight to Seattle. Y'all have fun. This was fun. Right. I appreciate y'all. I'll talk to y'all later.
Mike.
Peace.
Mike, write Vinny back. Write Vinny back and say Detroit doesn't stink. Michigan, University of Michigan does, but Detroit doesn't.
You still talking trash, huh?
Oh yeah. Because we in this.
From that?
We still in this. We in it. All right, Charles, we talked a lot about the Detroit Lions, and let's just go south of the border from Detroit's perspective and check out Cleveland, about 2 hours away, 2.5 hours, and the Browns. Now, they have a similar story. Both teams have never been to the Super Bowl. Last time Cleveland won a championship, won 1957, but it was 1964 last time they won an NFL title. And they've had the same type of chaos, the same type of disappointment as Detroit, except their disappointment has come in the playoffs, in championship games, big moments. They have had heartbreak after heartbreak. And so, Charles, I think, after watching the latest battle of Ohio, and the Browns have done very well against the Bengals. The Bengals have been good, but against the Browns, they have, lately, they haven't looked so great. They did yesterday. Bengals win that game. But I think the latest heartbreak for the Browns, and I know I'm getting ahead of myself, but I really feel this way. They got to think about this Deshaun Watson trade they made. They gave up so much. They put so much on the line for Deshaun Watson. And I'm not even looking at it from a moral sense.
Right. Like, football sense.
Football-wise, 8 quarters, Deshaun Watson, quarterback in the Browns. Those 8 quarters, he has produced 1 touchdown. That's right, 1 touchdown in 8 quarters. And he looked okay yesterday. He didn't look okay in Houston in the game that you saw. Let's start there. And I want to get to the Bengals because they deserve some love. But do you think the Browns are looking at this? I know it's only 2 games in. The Browns are looking at this and maybe wondering, what exactly did we agree to?
So here's how they're looking at it, okay? And it was interesting. I had a chance to talk to somebody in the organization leading into the Bengals game. And I thought, okay, my preface with the conversation was like, hey, you guys got past Houston, getting Deshaun back. It's got to feel good, like you got over the hump. They actually were looking at Cincinnati and saying, Cincinnati's more kind of the one we want to get out of the way. And I was like, why? They said, well, first off, the Houston game was weird. There weren't a lot of fans there. Maybe what we thought in terms of what was directed at Deshaun, it was more going to be something that would happen in the Cincinnati game than the Houston game. He didn't feel that much heat, and it wasn't as big of a mental hurdle as really what he was going to face in Cincinnati. So they looked at Cincinnati as a really formidable game in front of them, both on the field and off the field with Watson. So I think now that they're past that, they're kind of ready to move forward. But the big thing that they were focusing on going to Cincinnati, they're like, look, what happened in Houston, we expected it. Deshaun's been off 700 plus days. He was going to be rusty. I'd seen him in practice in camp. He looked rusty. He looked a lot like what he looked like in Houston. But this person I spoke to said, what's he going to look like now from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4? If we see him take a step from Houston and get better and play better, play closer to the guy that we know he can be in Cincinnati, we're going to be okay. I don't think they thought they were making the playoffs. They've made everything just about getting him taking these incremental steps. So he did look better. Michael, you got to admit.
Yeah.
He looked more
he did look better.
like Deshaun than in week, in his first game to his second game. To them, that's the progress they're looking for.
But there are a couple things here. One, I don't know why they wouldn't think about making the playoffs, especially in this AFC. So you win this game yesterday. If you win the game yesterday, you're right in the mix. You beat Cincinnati. So that means you swept them. You swept them for the year. That's a good thing. You banked a game in your division. You got a game in your division against a Lamar Jackson-less Baltimore Ravens team. You got the Steelers, who still may not have Kenny Pickett back when you play them.
Right.
I mean, you got a couple more division games left. You're right in the mix. I think yesterday was a devastating, just from a postseason standpoint. And why wouldn't they be thinking about the postseason? You just guaranteed the biggest contract in NFL history for Deshaun Watson. I know he hasn't played in 700 days, but you beat Cincinnati with Jacoby Brissett. Why wouldn't you think about beating Cincinnati with Deshaun Watson?
Because I think that they knew to make the playoffs. And remember, when this all started, they didn't know that Lamar Jackson was going to go down, nor that Tyler Huntley was then going to go down after Lamar did. They didn't know Kenny Pickett was going to go down. So they're not sitting there thinking, well, geez, we're playing Mitch Trubisky, maybe Tyler Huntley, maybe a third string quarterback in Baltimore. So, I'm just talking about when this started, they felt like it was probably unrealistic to run the table with a quarterback who basically hadn't played competitive football in 2 years. And so to them, it was, hey, if we make the playoffs, that's great. But realistically, what we are in this for, what we traded for, Deshaun Watson, was not just to make the playoffs in 2022. It was to get Deshaun Watson, the guy who was an all-pro caliber level player in Houston. And that really is the steps, because look, 5 years from now, if Deshaun Watson's balling out, no one's going to look back and go, well, geez, that 2022 end, they could have. All they care about is 5 years from now, he is playing, not 5 years, but really in 2023, he is playing like the player they thought they were trading for. That is what they're focused on, is getting him into a rhythm with Stefanski. And, oh, by the way, looking at the surrounding offensive roster and going, who does he play well with? Like, who do we need to swap? Njoku looks like he's going to fit. Amari Cooper, no problem. Donovan Peoples-Jones, no problem. The running backs, no problem. That's part of what they're learning right now. So, look, they know those Cleveland fans, as long as Deshaun's getting better, Michael, those Cleveland fans are going to be like, it's cool. We got our quarterback. We're good.
I know. I guess I'm just going to be aggressive here and say, I feel like they're going to regret this from a football standpoint.
They are behind.
Football-wise.
I mean,
I think they will. I think they will.
They gave him so much money. Maybe, he has to be one of the top 2 or 3 quarterbacks, right? He has to be.
And maybe that's the lesson from the 2022 offseason. We all said, hey, get this quarterback, get a quarterback, and your problem solved. And look at Denver.
So safe anymore.
Denver, and right now Cleveland 1-1 with Deshaun Watson, but it's not because the one game they won in Houston, Deshaun Watson didn't play well. Last thing I'll say about Cleveland, then I want to transition to Cincinnati. In 2020, when they made the playoffs, they beat the Steelers. It was great. I think Kevin Stefanski, even though he had COVID for that playoff game, I know he was calling it. He had his fingerprints all over it. They were such a well-run offense. They did just a wonderful job of utilizing their personnel. They were tough to defend. They were imaginative. Yesterday, I'm looking at them, and I don't know, Charles, if you saw this or if you even saw the highlight of a play. They had a 4th down play. So I did mention that they gave Deshaun Watson the biggest contract in NFL history.
Oh, yeah. I know what you're getting at. Yeah, I know the play you're talking about.
So Deshaun Watson, the quarterback, the guy with the ball, they have Deshaun Watson on the bench Fourth down play. They go in the goal line. Uh-oh. Oh, we gonna trick y'all. Y'all think we got Jacoby in, and no, he's a big guy. You think we go run Jacoby behind the right guard or something. No, get ready. No. It's just a goal line look. No, Jacoby Brissett drops back. He's got an open receiver, but guess what? Yeah. It's Jacoby Brissett throwing the ball, not Deshaun Watson. And he misses him. And turnover on downs. I mean, it's just like,
yeah.
What are you doing?
What
are we doing
curious.
Here?
I'd be curious to know, what exactly the thought process was there, because it's not like at this stage Deshaun wouldn't know the package, right? Like he was there in the preseason and he had a couple weeks. You know your goal line packages. Definitely not I'm not a fan of taking the $230 million quarterback off the field to see him. Yeah, I mean, like that's an opportunity, right? That's like, let's see what happens here and learn something from it. I'm with you.
They spend so much time saying, hey, Jacoby just going to keep it warm for Deshaun. We can't wait till Deshaun gets back. Deshaun gets back, and you put Jacoby on the field for a fourth down play that you're trying to convert. Doesn't make any sense. But what does make a lot of sense. Go ahead.
Mike, before you move on, we've seen Frank Reich at one point threw the ball to Andrew Luck, and Andrew Luck got destroyed on the play. And it was Andrew Luck who had physical problems. We watched Josh McDaniels throw to Tom Brady at one point. It just, I mean, like, I don't know why. Every once in a while, I think people who are running offenses, they lose their minds and think, let's be creative. Like, Philly special is probably the brain bug of all time. Then again, Detroit threw to Penei Sewell, and that actually worked. So, I mean, I don't know. It was definitely not one of their best moments. That's for sure.
There's a lot of overthinking, but we don't have to overthink this. The Bengals last year got hot down the stretch. Yep. They beat Kansas City in Cincinnati. They were down in that game, came back and beat them. AFC Championship game. They're down in Kansas City, came back and beat them. This year, they're down against Kansas City, came back and beat them. So that's 3-0 in less than a calendar year against Kansas City. And they don't just beat Kansas City. They've been beaten. They've beaten everybody the last 5 or 6 games. So when you ask me who the best team is in the AFC, I know their record doesn't say they're the best team. I think I'm going to have to go with Cincinnati. I think Cincinnati is the best team in the AFC. Are you willing to commit to thorough Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals as the best team in the AFC?
I am not, but only because you have T. Higgins now has a hamstring problem. Tyler Boyd has a broken finger. You're losing the skill. Remember, when they down the stretch, what they did well was they had health. They had the skill position players are all clicking. They were running the ball with Joe Mixon. Having Joe Mixon back this week, I think, makes a big difference. I know that they have beaten Kansas City, and so absolutely you're on firm ground. There's no question. I still look at Kansas City. I know they played horrible. The Denver game was not exactly a highlight through and through, but I still look at Kansas City as being Mahomes is an MVP level quarterback. He's playing at an MVP level. I still think that's ultimately the team to beat. But I will say this for you. Joe Burrow, to me, may actually be the most resilient quarterback in football. Every time I watch him and he makes mistakes or they kind of go through, I mean, even earlier this season when things weren't working well, he never seems like a guy who gets frustrated. He's just like, we're going to be fine. Like, even on the field, he'll throw a pick, nothing, comes back out. It's not a thing to him. And I do think that's what plays into why they go on these runs, and the resiliency they have is just because he is who he is. I can't put a finger on it, but he really is just an absolutely unflappable player. I don't know that I've ever seen him scream at a player once in his entire career.
Right, exactly. That's what stands out to me. Like Joe Burrow and his leadership. Last year, you can't get sacked that much. And then at one point, at some point, there's got to be a flip out, right? What was that in the divisional playoff against Tennessee? Was it 9 times? He gets sacked 9 times in a playoff game, and they won the game. He had a drive to win the game. You're being mauled all the way through the regular season and postseason. They're mauling you. Divisional playoffs. Championship game was better, but the Super Bowl, once again, the key plays in the Super Bowl, the Rams made the plays when they needed to make them because the offensive line was suspect. But not in our faces, not little whispers behind the scenes, not sources say Burrow has gone to the coaching staff to say nothing. And you see him, he's always like that. You're showing him on the screen, watching on Peacock TV, you just see a chill Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is chill. If there's a hostage situation, I'm gonna say, all right, let's call Burrow. Let's call Burrow. There's a man on the building. Man's on the building. Negotiator. He said, you can't say anything to him. This is it. He listened to Michael Holley and My Bets, Your Money. He put the mortgage on it, and things didn't turn out well for him. Bring in Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow.
He is the embodiment of the guy smoking the cigar after the LSU win. He really is. Like, it just wasn't. I don't think we hype up moments, collegiate moments or whatever, and you're kind of like, well, that's the epitome of what he is. It's, frame it because it spells out everything you need to know. That was one of the rare ones where, like, after the national championship win, you're like, man, this dude really is just the coolest cat. Like, it's whatever he brings to the table, it's extra, and it's real. That's who he has been over the expanse of his career. Another thing I like about him too, he'll say some stuff. He got up a couple of weeks ago when they started to click, and he was like, oh, I kind of feel it. I feel us getting into that groove that we got into last year. You probably, you probably don't want to put that expectation because the groove he got on last year ran you to the Super Bowl. He had no problem saying that. So, and I think the locker room responds to him because of that.
And I didn't believe it last year. By the way, I did mention, My Bets, Your Money. Your boy was 4-1 this week. 4-1.
Ooh.
So as you go into the holidays, thank me later for the extra cash you have to spend on friends and family or yourself if you're that kind of person. If you spend it on yourself, you kind of miss the spirit of the holidays, but that's all right. I'm not here. I'm not standing in judgment.
I need some of those picks.
Yeah, you should follow. The one I missed was Bengals Browns, though, ironically.
Oh.
Yeah, actually they said that to me in there. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I mean, we got way bigger goals, and it's on to the next one. So it's nice to get this win here because we know this is a good football team. It's nice to come out here and play good on the road, and we'll move on to the next one. Enjoy this one for a little bit, and move on to the next one.
All right, Charles. Nick Sirianni, head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, runaway train in the NFC. They clinched the playoff berth yesterday. They are not able to clinch the NFC East because NFC East is a tough division, and they got Dallas right on their heels. When you look at this team, and particularly their quarterback, do you think that this is, if you had to call it right now, say, all right, we are in Arizona for the Super Bowl. I'm going to see you there, I think.
Yeah.
We're in Arizona. Are we going to be talking about the Philadelphia Eagles as the NFC East, as the NFC participant in the Super Bowl, and on awards night, the night before the Super Bowl or a couple nights before, Jalen Hurts MVP? What's the likelihood of both of those things happening?
I think if they're a Super Bowl team, I think Hurts is probably likely your MVP winner. I'm an MVP voter, and I can tell you, I don't like to do the week-by-week thing. I think it muddles the process for me. I like to look at it at the end and kind of weigh it all out. But I will say this. Hurts has kept himself consistently on people's minds in terms of MVP voting all season long. They're 12-1. He's got an opportunity to rush for close to 1,000 yards this season. I think he has 32 total touchdowns, 22 passing, 10 rushing, 108+ passer rating. I mean, he's there. He's really developed. Wow. And he is someone that, with his ability to call his own number, affects an offense as much as Patrick Mahomes does, as much as really any quarterback in the NFL does right now. And I'm just telling you, the Christmas Eve game, that Dallas game on December 24th in Dallas, very well could be that sort of MVP opus moment. Like if he can put it together in Dallas in front of a national audience on Christmas Eve, that I think that will be something that could potentially sway a lot of MVP voters. I do think that they are the very likely NFC participant. And it's all due respect to Dallas. I think great team, but I do think that Philly offensively is so much harder to deal with than almost anybody in the NFL. Dallas is close though. Dallas is really the way they use the running backs, the skill position pieces, but I between Hurts and Dak Prescott, I would take Jalen Hurts. There's no doubt in my mind.
And I mean, Hurts just blows my mind. Like the whole team, just watching Philadelphia, and they're from top to bottom, really, coaching staff, what Nick Sirianni has done, what Howie Roseman has done in the front office, what Jalen Hurts has done,
really
what A.J. Brown has done in his first year. Would you say, and I know we're running out of time, but would you say that this was inevitable for Hurts? Even, let's say they never trade for A.J. Brown. Was his improvement arc so inevitable that A.J. Brown or not, he was going to be playing at this level this year?
I think he would have taken the steps. I don't know if the arc would have been so dramatic. I think A.J. Brown coming into the fold was pretty significant for him. But his consistent improvement over the course of the season is not just all A.J. Brown related. And I went through there in the preseason, and they swore up and down they thought they had their quarterback, and I did not believe. I was like, okay, yeah, we'll see. Everything they told me in the preseason has shown itself on the field, so it's pretty remarkable.
You know what, Charles? One thing we haven't talked about in the last 30 minutes? Michael Smith just got up and bounced in the middle of a show. I mean, he left. He started off doing the show, and then he just left. Isn't that crazy? Is that not nuts?
You insulted him.
I think that's a little crazy.
You insulted him.
Good to see you, Charles.
All right.
Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.